Kaela's chest still burned from the last strike. The training hall's lights flickered, too bright, too cold, too clinical for her human eyes. The alien instructors stood in a perfect circle around her, each armored in the iridescent plates of the Varkathi military. Their reptilian faces were unreadable, but their yellow eyes radiated disappointment. "Human," Commander Sovereign hissed, voice slithering through the air. "You have failed the combat trial." Kaela pushed a shaking hand into the floor and stood, swallowing the frustration clawing at her throat. She'd worked for years to come this far. She'd been told humans were being considered for the first time to join the Galactic Vanguard, a force of elite warriors drawn from 100 species. She'd trained on Earth, then through grueling tests across colony worlds. She had earned this chance, and they were about to rip it from her. Xyr turned away, waving a hand dismissively. "Escort the human recruit to observation. She will watch true warriors complete the training she cannot." Kaela's fists tightened as two guards stepped forward. No, not again. Not like every other time she'd been underestimated. She drew in a breath, tasting blood on her tongue. She whispered to herself, "Humans don't quit. Humans are small. So what?" The average Varkathi stood nearly 7 feet tall and weighed 3 times more than a human soldier. Their scaled hides could shrug off knives. They laughed at bruises. But they were slow, methodical. Kaela had speed. She wasn't sure if she was fueled by anger, desperation, or just pure stubborn human adrenaline. But as the guards reached for her, she exploded into motion. She ducked under the first arm, sweeping the guard's legs. Before the second even hissed in surprise, she jabbed an elbow into its throat, right where their species had a vulnerable breathing valve. They dropped. The instructor stopped. They did not move. They simply stared. Kaela straightened. "Test isn't over." Commander Sovereign's tongue flickered. "The trial is over when we say it is." Kaela's heartbeat thudded like war drums. "Good. Then I demand another round." Snickers rippled through the observing warriors perched above. Humans were always entertainment to them. Sovereign stepped forward, towering over her. "You are fragile, reckless, unsuitable." Kaela didn't blink. "And yet I'm still standing." The hall fell silent. The solar flare. Alarm before Sovereign could reply, the station's alarms blared, piercing and violent. The overhead lights shifted to crimson. Warning: external hull compromise. Deck 7 breached. The instructors turned toward the flashing signals. A Varkathi officer sprinted in, panting. "Commander, unknown ships emerging from the void." "No transponders. They fired before we detected—" The room shook violently. Kaela stumbled, steadying herself against a pillar. "Invaders?" SS Avron snarled. The officer nodded. "Yes, and they're already boarding." Kaela's breath caught. This wasn't part of the trial. The instructors moved in perfect formation, circling the exit. Warriors clad in battle armor poured into the hall, forming lines. SS Avron barked orders. "Civilian sectors to shelter. Warriors to the breach. Points. Kill anything not Varkathi." Then his eyes shifted back to Kaela, like he had just remembered she existed. "You human. Observation room, now." Kaela shook her head. "No. This fight is mine too." Warriors turned sharply, some in shock, some in fury. "You do not give orders here," Sovereign growled. Kaela stepped forward. She understood. Their culture enough to speak directly. "If I can't fight, why train me at all? Either let me prove myself, or I walk out that airlock and save you the trouble." Sovereign stared at her for one long, silent moment. Then, "Fight." The breach. The station's corridors blazed with sirens as they reached Deck 7. The walls trembled with each distant explosion. Kaela's pulse raced, the air thick with ozone and fear. Warriors formed barricades behind bulkhead shields. SS Avron handed Kaela a compact plasma rifle. "You know how to use this?" Kaela smirked. "Point and shoot," he hissed sharply. "Do not fail." The bulkhead ahead glowed red, metal melting inward. Then the invaders spilled through. Horrors of metallic exoskeletons fused with writhing vines beneath their plating. Their eyes were clusters of green bioluminescent orbs. The Xyr Kaela had heard rumors. Parasitic conquerors who devoured ecosystems and species, until nothing living remained. The Varkathi unleashed a barrage of plasma bolts. Kaela took her first shot, clean, straight to the nearest monster's central eye cluster. It screeched, collapsing. She slid behind a crate, rolled out, and fired 3 more blasts, fluid, precise. She wasn't the strongest here, but she was fast. When bullets surged her way, she dove and hugged low angles. When claws swiped, she twisted just shy of death. Her training from Earth's low-budget military academies suddenly seemed priceless. Warriors exchanged bewildered glances as she moved through the chaos like she belonged. Avrin noticed too. Not just a test-a-second wave hit. Bigger creatures, like armored war beasts, charged on 6 legs, slamming through the Varkathi front line. Kaela's weapon overheated. She swore under her breath and searched for anything to help. Then she saw it, a cracked coolant pipe spraying freezing vapor. Using it as cover, she sprinted around a beast, leaping onto its back. She shoved the super-cold pipe into a seam between plates. Coolant flooded in, metallic cracking echoed. Then the beast froze and shattered beneath its own weight. Kaela rolled off the debris, panting. A Varkathi warrior gaped. She killed a Goliath brute alone. Sovereign thundered, "Focus, more coming." As Kaela reloaded, the commander approached her, voice low. That move? Was that instinct? Kaela breathed hard. That was desperation. He stared. Desperation, he said slowly. Maybe the greatest weapon of all. The hallway shook again. The lights flickered off, then back on. Kaela inhaled sharply. Some of the instructors in the back still stood frozen, motionless, staring blankly. Then another, and another. "What's wrong with them?" Kaela asked. As Avrin stiffened, realization dawning with horror. They are not breathing. The instructors who had mocked her. The ones who scolded, corrected, degraded her efforts. Dead, standing. "We failed so badly," Kaela whispered, "that they didn't even notice. We were in real danger." Sovereign's eyes burned like twin suns. "Then prove them wrong. Help me hold this line." Last stand of Deck 7. The third breach hit harder than the rest. The bulkhead simply exploded inward, dragging multiple warriors into space before SEALs re-engaged. Kaela hit the deck, ears ringing. When she opened her eyes, she saw Sovereign pinned beneath a fallen support beam. The Xyr swarmed in. Kaela scrambled to her feet. "Commander!" He bared his teeth. "Trapped. Leave me. Defend the civilians." Kaela grabbed the beam. Strained. Muscles screamed. The metal didn't budge. A Xyr warrior leaped toward him. Kaela surged up with a roar, adrenaline detonating through every cell. Humans don't give up. She kicked the beam with everything she had. It shifted, just enough for Sovereign to roll free and slice through the alien attacker. He stared at her in stunned silence. "You saved my life." Kaela smirked weakly. "Guess I'm not that fragile." Together they fought their way into a defensive pocket. Kaela flipped to a fallen station terminal, hotwired the emergency override, and activated a decompression trap. "Seal your suits," she shouted. Before the Xyr could notice her plan, she slammed the release. A violent vacuum roar ripped the corridor clean. The invaders were flung into space, along with damaged hull fragments and shredded alien limbs. Silence fell. Slowly, Varkathi warriors lowered their weapons. Kaela collapsed against a bulkhead, lungs heaving. Sovereign approached, armor scorched, one fang broken. He looked at her not with disdain, but with respect. Victory and reconciliation. Emergency repair drones sealed the wall. The station lights returned to normal. Reinforcement squads arrived, baffled that the threat was already eliminated in this sector. Medics swarmed the wounded. Officers took reports, and Kaela stood alone by the observation window, staring at the drifting Xyr wreckage glowing in the void. SS Avrin joined her. "We misjudged your kind," he admitted. Kaela shrugged. "It happens a lot." "No," he said firmly. "It should not." He extended his arm. The Varkathi warrior salute. "You did not fail the trial. The trial failed you. Today, you demonstrated the heart of a true warrior. You have earned your place among the Vanguard." A quiet warmth spread through Kaela's chest. She placed her hand on his arm, returning the salute. "Glad you noticed," she said with a grin, as Avron's eyes narrowed with amusement. "And one more thing." He gestured toward the frozen instructors standing like statues of arrogance. "Your performance reportedly did not impress them. Shall we ask again?" Kaela smiled. "Nah, I think they've said enough." Epilogue: The Human Weapon Days. Later, official orders came. Kaela Rowan, first human Vanguard. Her assignment: a frontline squad tasked with tracking and eliminating Xyr incursions. Rumors spread across the station. The tiny mammal saved the commander. The fragile one shattered a brute. The weakest species stood strongest when it mattered. Alien recruits began watching her train, whispering her name, trying to mimic her tactics. Kaela stood in the training hall once more, and this time everyone moved out of her way. She smirked, cracking her knuckles. "All right, who's next?" Because humans weren't the strongest, or the toughest, or the biggest. But when the universe turned against them, humans didn't break. They adapted, they survived, and they fought like hell. Space shimmered like broken glass where the Xyr ships had been torn apart by the Varkathi fleet. Kaela Rowan stood at the bay window of the cruiser Skyrend, helmet tucked under her arm. The stars outside felt too quiet after the chaos of the station attack. She was officially the first human warrior in the Galactic Vanguard now. She should have felt invincible. Instead, she felt watched. "Recruit Rowan," came a gravelly voice behind her, though she wasn't really a recruit anymore. "Briefing hall, now." Kaela turned to see Commander Sovereign, alive, recovered, and looking more impatient than ever. Kaela grinned. "Miss me already?" He snorted. "Don't flatter yourself, soft skin." But Kaela caught the slight curl of amusement in his lip. Their partnership, born in battle, had changed something. Among the Varkathi, respect was earned through survival, not courtesy, and Kaela had survived. War Council. The briefing hall hummed with hollow displays of star sectors and red threat markers. Dozens of warriors of different species stood around the circular table. Kaela was the only human. As she entered, heads turned. Some eyes were curious, others skeptical, a few admiring. It was progress. Admiral Korvath, a massive Varkathi draped in golden command armor, tapped the holoscreen. The star map expanded outward, displaying a crimson sphere pulsing ominously. "This is the Xyr hive mind core. We believe they have a queen." Murmurs spread like wildfire. Kaela frowned. "I thought they were just parasites." A tall insectoid officer clicked its mandibles. "Parasites do not strategize. The Xyr have coordinated across 3 systems. Something leads them." Sovereign stepped forward. "Then we strike the head." Korvath nodded. "Yes, but our intelligence is limited. Before the queen can be eliminated, we must verify her existence and locate her chamber." The map zoomed on a gas giant moon. Xyr Nest World, codename Garden of Bones. Kaela's skin prickled at the name. "And we're going there?" she asked. Korvath turned to her. "You, human Rowan, are uniquely suited to infiltration. Your smaller size and surprising agility." Kaela chuckled. "So I'm short." "Got it," Korvath continued unamused. "Make you ideal for navigating the hive tunnels." "But you are not going alone." Kaela's smile faded as a towering alien lumbered forward. 8 feet tall, covered in obsidian plates, a pair of curved horns crowning its head. "This is Draxon of the Vortal, heavy assault specialist." Draxon grunted. "I crush things," Kaela whispered to Sovereign. "Great, the wrecking ball and the mouse." "Perfect combo," Sovereign whispered back. "He can hear you." Draxon rumbled. "Yes, I can." Kaela froze. Then Draxon laughed, impossibly high-pitched. She sighed. "Oh, he's funny." "That's even worse." Drop to the garden. The drop pod shook violently as it plummeted through the moon's toxic atmosphere. Acidic storm streaked past the viewports. "Atmospheric entry will be rough," Sovereign stated, voice too calm for Kaela's taste. Kaela strapped her helmet. "Define rough." The pod lurched, metal shrieking. "That," Sovereign said. Draxon cheered like a child on a roller coaster. They slammed into the surface with a bone-rattling impact. Kaela tasted blood again, but she was getting used to that. The hatch burst open and they stepped into hell. Jagged spires of bone twisted from the ground. Veins pulsed beneath a membrane-like surface. Every breath felt like inhaling rot. Lights flickered on their visors as scanners activated. No sign of patrols, a sovereign reported. Kaela raised a brow. That's reassuring. It should not be, he replied darkly. Draxon sniffed. Smells like fear. Kaela shook her head. Smells like a corpse smoothie. They moved into a tunnel carved from what looked like fossilized ribs. The deeper they marched, the darker the world became, lit only by faint bioluminescent veins. Kaela whispered. Feels like it's alive, Sovereign whispered back. It is. Into the hive movement skittered above them. Kaela's pulse spiked. She signaled with a hand gesture, silent, military precise. Sovereign nodded, impressed. Draxon did not notice at all. He fired a plasma bolt into the ceiling. The ceiling screamed. Xyr drones poured down like armored spiders, hissing, gnashing claws. Kaela's instincts took over. She fired double blasts. 2 drones fell. Another leaped. She spun beneath it, plunged a blade straight up into its core. Green ichor sprayed across her visor. Xyr cut down 3 in a single arc of his twin blades. Fluid. Deadly precision. Draxon simply grabbed the nearest drone and tore it in half like paper. The fight was quick, efficient. Kaela wiped her visor. So much for stealth. They know we are here, Sovereign said. The tunnel pulsed, echoing with chittering voices. Kaela swallowed. Let's move fast. The mural of extinction. They entered a vast chamber, walls covered in fossilized carvings. Kaela approached carefully. The carvings depicted planets, lush and green, slowly turning black and dead. Life drained, species devoured. This is what they do, Xyr murmured. World after world. Kaela touched one carving, a humanoid figure being consumed by vines. We can't let them reach Earth. Her voice was quiet, personal. Draxon stepped up beside her. We crush, Queen. No more dead worlds. The words were simple, but they struck deep. Kaela gave a small nod. Right. As they turned to leave, the entire wall of carvings shifted. Eyes opened. Hundreds of glowing orbs. Kaela froze. Guys? The carvings crawled off the wall, revealing themselves as dormant Xyr guardians, towering biomechanical beasts with too many eyes and too many limbs. Sovereign roared, Run! They sprinted through the tunnel as the guardians thundered after them, the ground quaking with every step. The collapse. The chase funneled them into a narrow shaft. Kaela slid under a low arch, panting. We need to collapse this tunnel. She shouted. Draxon grinned. I smash, Kaela pointed. Smash smart! He planted his massive fists into the support columns. Cracks raced upward. The tunnel shuddered. Xyr dragged Kaela backward as the entire ceiling caved in, burying the guardians in a storm of bones and dust. Silence. Kaela lay on her back, gasping. Okay, not gonna lie. I needed that cardio. Sovereign chuckled, then hissed in pain. Green blood oozed from a deep slash across his shoulder. Kaela crawled to him, pulled out a spray sealant from her belt. He tried to protest. Warriors do not require... She sprayed directly into the wound. He winced. You're welcome, she muttered. Draxon peered at them, tilting his head. Is this flirting? Both shouted, No! The Queen's call as they recovered. A low psychic pulse vibrated the air, like a voice bypassing the ears entirely. Kaela staggered. What was that? Sovereign's eyes widened. The Queen knows the tunnel collapsed. She is summoning her swarm. Draxon gripped his heavy cannon. Good, more smashing. Kaela grabbed his arm. No, we can't fight a whole swarm. We need the Queen. Cut off the head, Xyr nodded. Agreed. The hive heart lies ahead. They pushed deeper, toward a faint pulsating glow. The Queen reveals herself. They entered a colossal chamber. A pulsing organic throne rose in the center, veins like giant roots stretching through the floor. And there she was, the Xyr Queen, a towering figure, half beast, half metal. Her crown of living bone twitched as she observed them. Her voice poured into their minds, crushing pressure. You are alone. Small, fragile Kaela clutched. Her skull, pain blinding, but then a spark of rage ignited. She growled through clenched teeth. Humans don't break, the Queen hissed. Amused, your world will feed us. Kaela raised her weapon. Not if we burn your garden first. Sovereign and Draxon took flanking positions. The Queen screamed. The hive erupted in motion. drones pouring from every crevice. Kaela shot upward, grappling with a ceiling tendon, swinging to the throne platform. Draxon smashed into a wave of drones like a living avalanche. Sovereign's blades became emerald lightning. Kaela reached a pulsating growth, clearly a vital organ. She jammed explosives into the membrane. Fire in the hole! She dove as the charge detonated. A shockwave of neon ichor burst from the wound. The queen shrieked, staggering. A Xyr leaped, slicing deep into her leg joints. Draxon barreled upward, slamming. The queen back onto her throne. Kaela sprinted up the throne. Backbone vaulted over and planted. 3 plasma charges directly into the queen's skull carapace. She paused, stared into those glowing eyes. This is for every world you erased. She pressed the detonator. Boom! The queen's head exploded in a cascade of acid vapor and shrapnel. The chamber went still. The hive's psychic scream faded into nothing. Kaela landed hard, rolling, coughing, alive. Xyr stood, blade dripping. It is done. Draxon lifted Kaela onto his shoulder like a prize. Human is small but mighty. Kaela coughed. Put me down before I throw up on your horns. He gently set her back on the floor. Not alone anymore. The hive began to collapse, structures failing without the queen's control. They ran, dodging falling bone towers and rupturing tunnels, until finally the moon's surface came into view. Vanguard shuttle hovered. Ramp extended. They dove inside as the ground gave way behind them. The pilot hit the thrusters. Fire, blasting beneath the ship as they lifted. Off, Kaela stared down at the collapsing hive. From nightmare to graveyard, Xyr leaned beside her. You stood alone, he said quietly. But you never will again. Kaela looked up at him. No warrior should. Epilogue. Fear the fragile back aboard the Skyrend. Kaela limped into the medbay, armor cracked. Bruises forming everywhere. Varkathi warriors lined the corridor, slamming fists to chests in salute. Hail, human Vanguard! She killed the queen! She destroyed the hive! Whispers of awe rolled through the ship. Kaela blushed, hiding a proud smile. Commander Xyr stepped before her. You have shown us that humans fight hardest when they are outnumbered and underestimated, Kaela smirked.